There is a pattern in modern life that most people notice, but rarely pause to examine. Credit card balances go down for a while, and then slowly climb back again. Even when spending feels controlled. Even when no major purchase happens. Even when income increases over time, it rarely feels like a single decision caused it. It feels more like a cycle that quietly restarts itself. And the uncomfortable truth is this: most people are not trapped by one bad financial mistake. They are trapped by how normal revolving debt becomes once it enters everyday life. A working adult in the US or Europe usually starts the month with a sense of structure. Salary arrives. After taxes, there is a number that feels manageable. For a moment, it feels like control. Then life begins to allocate it. Rent or mortgage is first always. Then car payments, insurance, phone bills, internet, and subscriptions that no longer feel optional because they quietly became routine. Streaming platforms run in the background. Food delivery fills tired evenings. Coffee, small purchases, convenience spending, none of it feels significant alone. But together, they shape the month. Then credit cards enter the system. Not always for emergencies. Often for timing gaps. A purchase before payday. A delayed bill. A small shortfall covered just this once. Individually, nothing feels dangerous. But by mid-month, money stops feeling like income. It starts feeling like allocation. And when something unexpected happens, even small, credit stops being a tool and becomes a reflex. The issue is not irresponsibility. It is structure. Modern financial life is built on fixed monthly obligations. Rent is fixed. Subscriptions are fixed. Loan payments are fixed. Minimum credit card payments are fixed. Even lifestyle spending slowly becomes fixed through repetition. What this creates is a shift in perception. Income is no longer experienced as freedom. It becomes a distribution system. Before the month even begins, a large portion of future income is already mentally spent. This is why income can rise over time without creating real financial relief. Because expenses rise with it, not always dramatically, but consistently. Credit cards sit inside this system in a unique way. They don't feel like traditional debt. There is no clear starting point, no obvious boundary. Just a balance that moves slightly, but rarely disappears. That is why it feels endless. Not because it is infinite, but because it is continuous. Consider a simple example. A credit card balance of $3,000. At around 20% annual interest, minimum payments often do not reduce the principal quickly. A large portion goes toward interest in the early stages. Even if someone pays $100 a month, the balance reduces slowly. And during that time, new spending often gets added back. So the debt does not behave like a closed problem. It behaves like a moving target. But the real impact is not just mathematical. It is psychological. A debt that lasts 3 years stops feeling like a past decision. It becomes part of monthly life. And during those years, that money is not available for anything else: savings, emergencies, or flexibility. Many people don't have just one cycle like this. They have several overlapping ones. Small loans, installments, credit balances, individually manageable, together, mentally heavy. Credit card debt is sustained less by math and more by behavior. Most spending today is not purely rational. It is emotional, social, or reactive. Stress creates spending. Fatigue reduces resistance. Social comparison increases pressure. Convenience removes friction. Credit cards remove the delay between impulse and action. That delay matters. Because the brain reacts more strongly to immediate reward than delayed cost. So the pattern becomes simple: relief now, consequence later. Over time, this stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like normal behavior. There is also identity involved. People don't just spend on needs. They spend on versions of themselves. Lifestyle becomes a signal. Comfort becomes a standard. Progress becomes visible consumption. Even when the financial foundation is still catching up, the long-term effect is rarely dramatic. It is subtle. Financial progress slows, not because income is too low, but because too much of it is already committed. A quiet form of financial pressure becomes constant in the background. Not panic, just awareness. Flexibility reduces. Unexpected expenses feel heavier than they should. And over time, stability becomes dependency. As long as income flows, everything appears stable. But the system leaves very little margin for disruption. Not because people mismanage money, but because very little is left unassigned. People who eventually become financially stable do not usually make extreme changes. They make structural ones. They start treating future income more carefully. They avoid turning too much of it into fixed obligations. They prioritize flexibility over expansion. Not because they stop spending, but because they understand what fixed commitments do over time. Their thinking shifts from monthly affordability to long-term space. Not, can I afford this now, but what does this reduce later? That small shift changes everything. Because fewer fixed obligations means credit stops being necessary and becomes optional again. And that is where the cycle begins to weaken. Credit card debt rarely feels like something that starts. It feels like something that continues. Not because people lose control, but because the system makes it feel normal. And once normal replaces temporary, patterns stop being questioned. They simply become part of life. Slow, quiet, almost invisible. If you enjoy realistic conversations about money and modern life, you can subscribe.